Obviously, everything's accelerated today, but I think our guys have handled it really, really well today. Even brought our defense inside because the stadium, we had that blaring as loud as we could with crowd noise. Obviously, a sellout over there. I know they're excited about it. Got their everything from their uniforms to their fan base. Everybody's been making a big deal about this game. Good part is we get to be a part of it, right? So to have a chance to fly over there and play a really good football team, I think our guys are excited. They got good players on both sides of the ball, and it's a kicking game. So from a health standpoint, Matt Bailey's been back with us. He won't be able to play this week, but he'll be back with us, I think, next week. Other than that, everybody came back. T-Strain's been cleared. Practice today from a protocol standpoint there. Isaiah Adams practiced today. Really, that's about it. I don't think there's anybody else in there that have questions, so we should be pretty good. We're going to bring along a couple new faces. Some of the freshmen we've been, especially in the back end between with Sabor, Caleb Patterson, Prince Ford. There's been about 4 or 5 DBs, young DBs, that we're kind of rotating through, so we might roll through those a little bit. Other than it should be that same 74 that were with us last Saturday. With that, open up for questions.
This might be a stupid question. Even though we can't play, will Matt make the trip?
No, okay. Just because the roster spots are so valuable. But I will tell you, like game day wise and practice wise, everybody's checking with him, and there's some things we can do rehab wise with him here that wouldn't be the same accessibility that he has there. So if he hadn't played last year so much or been involved, I'd think about taking him on this just to get the continuity of traveling. But yeah, he's looked great.
The Friday games, you've got 1 of 2 this year.
Yeah.
Just your take on the whole thing.
You know, I think maybe 15, 10, this is my 15th year as a head coach, but it's been about 18, 20 years. 2006, I guess, is my first head coaching year. I used to get a lot more wrapped up in 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, night game, Friday, Thursday, Saturday. What I've learned, our kids, because I think of the morning practices,
Okay.
They learn to adjust and practice to anything. I know they had that game last week originally scheduled for a Thursday game. We made them move that to Friday, so they had one more day on us prep wise. But I think our guys, we really didn't lose a day. We took Monday out of the equation, so we've had the exact same number of prep days.
And high school football conflict there, I know that's always been a concern.
I'm a purist, right? A little bit of
Right.
a traditionalist, so that's part of it. But again, I think the Big Ten X number of years ago, I literally think I remember the first Friday night Big Ten football game was at Minnesota because there was a conflict in the World Series or something with the playoffs,
Okay.
and the Twins had to play on Saturday, so the Gophers played on Friday. I remember a big deal about that. And then really 15 years ago, 16 years ago when I became a head coach, there was talks of Friday night games, and I think they gave you the option back then. But I think even like Sunday, to see a Sunday game, you're seeing things now that you've never seen before, and I think it's driven obviously by the dollar of the TV contract. But our guys really flow with it pretty easy.
You get a pushback at all from the high school coaches? You ever heard much?
Not really.
They
no.
know it's not your fault.
Yeah, it's
right?
not. Again, I think they've been desensitized to it really over the last 10 years as well.
Is there any carryover from last year's similar schedule, a Saturday and then a Friday night game on the road?
Yeah.
That was a close game.
Literally, as soon as we scheduled this game on a Friday night, I immediately drew the comparison to Indiana, so that's kind of been a challenge for our returning guys. But again, we got so many guys that are new faces. Older guys have educated them. Last year we did a few more evening practices, but the University of Illinois academic structure is not very forgiving, so we couldn't really move practices from the morning to the evening, just too many conflicts and stuff like that, so we've stayed in the morning. We did Monday night under the lights, a walk, but other than that, we've stayed with our morning routine.
I think the obvious, which is drinking a lot of water. Brett, what else do you tell the guys about cramping and
Yeah,
staying hydrated?
I've been talking about this one for about 6 weeks. When we were in fall camp, we didn't have a lot of hot days, but I would reference the temperature in Lawrence at that time because they had a really hot box over there, right? So the advantage they had in that. But again, it looks like game time temperature is supposed to be somewhere between 85, 75 on Friday night, and of course it'll be in the evening. So the beginning phases might be a little bit of sun exposure, but for the most part the sun will be down. So it's a little bit different feel, but very similar to what we've been experiencing here. So I think the element of that, and in addition to some of our guys that, like again, the 4 guys last week that cramped up, needed IVs, we've really been proactive with them, even today, giving those guys hydration tests coming in the building.
How does it help you going to the next game when you have a Friday game? How much help is that to have that bonus day?
It was just one day, but again, Saturday, because we didn't take a day off this week,
That's your
Saturday we can't
Okay.
touch them, so they'll have the day off. As coaches, we'll come in, grade the Kansas film, and we've already done a lot of prep on Penn State, but obviously they'll play their second game
Right.
on that Saturday, so we'll have 2 games on them, to go through and adjust what we'd already learned through the spring, the summer, in our early fall scouting.
So there's some value there for you, right?
Um,
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, probably in some capacity, but I don't really think it's a big big element.
What are your thoughts on your first 4 weeks of your schedule? I know you get 2 good group of 5 teams, then you got a road out of conference Power 5 game with a top 10 team mixed in there. Do you like that kind of a tough start, or would you like to have an FCS mixed in there somewhere?
You know, I think the greatest thing in college football with the opening of the transfer portal and the way the world's wired now, every game is an opportunity to win or lose. And I said this before the year started, we have 12 games on our schedule that we have a chance to win. We have 12 games that we have a chance to lose, right? And what we do that week depends on that preparation, and what we do on that Saturday is a large part of what happens on that day. So I get the question, I appreciate it, but it really has no factor in the way we think. I think the outside world looking in. What is unique to this schedule, if you want a big picture schedule, there are several games this year that are rematch games that really aren't rematches just because there's new staff. You know, when we go to Purdue, when Nebraska comes here on a Friday night, when we play Wisconsin, those are all new, really, preparations. So the carryover from last year to this year is really at a minimum. And we have a lot of that up front. Our first 4 games are obviously new opponents. We haven't played Penn State 2 years ago, but the first 4 games are all new opponents, and then really in Game 5 against Purdue, it's a new opponent as well. So some of the themes and models we used last year, the big rematch scenario, right, which was a big part of what we do, you can't really use that this year.
Familiar, and remember the story Lance was passing around about when he was at Whitewater, you would let him use the indoor in Madison?
Yeah, Lance, I don't know when I first met Lance, but he was a very successful college coach, you know, in Whitewater, numerous national championships. We crossed paths. He had been a GA at Wisco before I was there, but
Sure.
Just a guy, he and I kind of think a lot alike, and we kind of just started walking in certain paths. And then, I remember he had several times where he'd use our facility, and then I know he said the other day in his presser when he got the job at Buffalo, I just called him and congratulated him and said, hey, if there's anything I can do, and that's when he came down and spent a couple days with me before our bowl prep, just to kind of talk big picture things. But we've known this day has been coming, right? Like as soon as I took the job here, and as soon as he had the Kansas job, we talked about it, and we saw each other at the draft. I thought it was kind of ironic, 2 guys that took over programs that weren't, and we were both at the draft last year for first rounders. That was pretty impressive. So just a lot of really good vibes. Tremendous coach. I know a lot of his assistant coaches. I don't know them well, but I know who they are. I've been around them a lot. It's just a lot of good respect.
You've done this for 15 years. Is that rare for somebody to let another program use your building?
Well, at that time it was Division I, Division III.
I understand that, but I'm just
So,
saying. Like,
no, I don't think that's too.
Okay.
We've had guys here.
It wasn't like you were going to play Whitewater.
Yeah,
but-
somebody was playing Southern Illinois 2 years ago,
Right.
and I let them come through and use our facility. So a lot of times I think Division II, Division III, and even certain regards I've had FCS teams. You know, they're just trying to me, it just, you know, especially in today's portal world, you never know who you might get one from. You know, so like I think a lot of that is also campus policy. Like I remember we had to go when I first came here. Somebody asked me to do it, and we had to go administration. We had to go through a couple things just to make sure we checked the box.
Brett,
Your
obviously,
running back rotation, just
Yeah.
the opener was Josh and
Yeah.
Reggie. I mean, Caden and Aiden, do they factor in this?
Oh,
one?
absolutely. We wanted to get him in last week, just kind of the way, you know, the ball, flowed, right? The flow of the game. We had every intention of Aiden and Caden both getting in the game, and this week I think even more so, right? But last week Josh and Reggie, I think it was 12 and 13, if I'm not mistaken, on number of carries. So we really wanted to get them going, just to make sure we could kind of get that established. I think that's happened, but now there's also some very specific, unique things we can get Aiden and Caden Fagan in the game.
obviously Caleb's kick gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
What do you think of the full picture of Robbie's first game as your special
I
teams
was walking
coordinator?
off the field and I said, first special teams coordinator, get a walk-off field goal. And I think it was pointed out, right, like Caleb, I said to him, we knew that Miles Scott was getting the defensive MVP, right, for the conference. And I thought Caleb might have a shot, with a game-winning field goal, but they gave it to the Minnesota guy. But the score was 0-0, or tie was scored there, right? Their score was tied. Ours was a game-winning field goal, right? So I was kind of pimping them up there. But I think overall, I've been very impressed with Robbie, special teams-wise, but also with the tight ends. Luke Tip came in, had a big first half especially. Robbie's an incredibly talented coach, and that was a unique game for him. He worked for Coach Kendall for a couple of years, right? So there was a lot of crossover there. But I've been very impressed with this literally from day one.
last thing on a Friday game, you get
You're
one.
wearing us out.
I know.
Yeah.
You get one at home later. So that's a whole lot better to be that home team on a Friday.
You don't have to travel.
Right, of
Obviously,
course.
that element's there. But I think our guys enjoy, road environments. I think the fact that obviously we're underdogs and all the things that go into this game. They got uniforms, a venue they've never played in before. There'll be great energy in there. I think you just play to the game for what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of that game will be just determined by what happens before it, as much as anything.
Just one more about Isaiah Adams.
Yep.
Just was it clear to you after the game that this probably wasn't going to be a long-term thing to get him back?
Not
as
right
quickly?
after the game. His mom was there for the first time. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him yet this week, but it was kind of a cool thing. It was the first time his mom was there. So I was kind of coming through the crowd, and after the game, I got a million different things going on. And his uncle came up and grabbed me, said, "Hey, his mom's here." I knew she was, so I went and grabbed her and brought her in the training room. At that time, I didn't know the severity or significance. And then I would say Sunday that all the news has been very, very positive, right? You have to wait to get certain tests done and everything was very positive. And then I think, what is today, Wednesday? I think Monday was a really big day for him. I think he felt a lot better. He felt, obviously he got the information on the test results, but then anything, when you're in that lower body, once your body tells you you're feeling okay and you start moving, that's when he feels good. And he's been awesome. It's a big game for him. He played JUCO in the Kansas system, right? There's guys on that team that he did. Lance and his staff did a great. They recruited him as well, so I know it means certain things to him. So, I think for him to get back and play has been a big deal for him.